it don't matter. Always come together. Y'all heard that on that song? Woo. Freedom. That's what freedom really is. Black, white, whoever. It don't matter. All races coming together. That's what freedom really is. And we have yet to get there. We still fighting for freedom. And it's more of us fighting for freedom than it was of us fighting for freedom when we were in slavery. Because now we do have a lot of other races that are mixed with black, and they actually feel our pain. And they're in this race to win this war with us. Everybody's not evil and desensitized, okay? Without a care for the next person. Everybody is not evil to the fact that they don't fear God and don't believe that there is a God either. So I do believe we have more in our world that believe in God, know his power, and are willing to do the will of God than we do that don't. That means we have more power than the government, and we have more power to the than the powers that be out here. We are the people with all the power, and the people meaning God's people. Every time they tell you the people, that's everybody as a whole. That's God's people. If you consider yourself God's people, then you're a part of the people. That's what I'm talking about. We have the most power. We do. We have the most power. But we have to unite. We have to come together without religion. We have to come together not realizing that we're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and different in any type of way from each other, who has a heart, who's human. For your own sake, for the sake of God, for the sake of this universe, for the sake of this world, for the sake of the people, we got to do it. Or it is true. The destructions that we have been witnessing out there in the valleys and in the deep valleys and in the deserts, all the fires and all the floods and all the destruction is God's wrath. All the shakeups is God's wrath. He wants you to know that he's God all by himself. And he's calling for his people. The people who he know have been called by his name. He said, if my people who are called by my name will just humble themselves and pray. He said, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from them. Then will I forgive them for their sins, and then will I heal the land. That is true. And he gonna make you out of a believer of that. Because we have to come together before we destroy mankind. We destroy where we live. And you guys don't believe that there's a Christ. You don't believe that there's a God. You have all your beliefs bottled up in this one little corner of yours in your mind. And honestly, if there was no God, none of us would be able to sustain the things that we sustain on a daily basis, mentally, spiritually, or physically. Because he has mercy, and even the ones that don't know him, he still gives to them whatever it is they need to sustain life. He's going to give you a chance to understand who he is and have a relationship with him before he turn his back on you. He's going to give you chance after chance after chance. But every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that he's Lord. By the time this thing is over with, this thing this world we're living in. See, we're not of this world. We just live in it. And we don't want to get left behind when he come and get all of his people who he'd consider his people. So we got a lot of false prophecies. We got people over here preaching in order to be seen and liked. Has nothing to do with the Holy Spirit. And a lot of that is beginning to rise more than ever, to where people don't want to believe that there's a God because you have so many irresponsible individuals who is supposed to be responsible for letting you know and showing you the way to God and letting you know that there is a God and letting you know about all the works that he do. But instead, they focus on them, their titles, how many likes they have, how many friends they have, and this is the reason why we have so many unbelievers, because they're looking at you who are supposed to be leaders. And I'm just here to tell them to stop looking at you and seek the face of God. Because if we continue to look at some of the people that we call leaders, we would never get an understanding of who God is for ourselves. If you just call on him and you ask for his presence, he knows how to show up in your life so that you can know that nobody but him did it. He knows how to do that. And it is supernatural. It is a supernatural power. And you would want to tap into that in the spiritual realm. And basically, he's telling us if we all can live in a spiritual realm where we are careful at what we do to other people, then that, in fact, can help change things around the world. If we can allow that to spread to the people that we know. We got a bunch of Asians out here in America who have actually adopted the heart of racism. They don't like us either as black people in America most of the time. And then you got that half of them that do like us. Same thing with whites, even though it's their game, it's their idea, Willie Lynch, it's their plan for us. They also have half and half. Half people who want to root on this plan against African Americans and half of who want to end it. We, as African Americans, we too have half and half. We have some people that are totally brainwashed and feel as though it's normal to live in a suppressed state of mind because we are, in fact, to them in their mind, inferior to the white man and the white race. We as black people go unnoticed. We got so many wonderful people historically that have come before us and paved the way. And it's a sad situation that regardless to what type of money you have, what type of education you may have, who you may know, if you are black, you still are categorized on a level where you are not much worth anything just because you're black. So you go out and you get that education and you get those degrees and you're doctor this and you're professor this and you're in Congress and you're in the government and you this, that, and the other and all these huge titles and you got enough money to build a village and guess what? You don't have enough money and enough education to delete you from the African American race. So where does that lead you? Right back in the seat next to your brothers and sisters who are suppressed and still suffering, who don't have your money, who don't have your education, who's still reaching far and thriving for a way to get out in so many different communities and so many different parts of the world and so many states, so many continents. This thing is going on. So I challenge the Asians to build you a coalition based on the fact that you want to help blacks. Asians, build you a coalition based on the fact that you want to allow us to become just as intelligent as you are technologically in technology. Help us learn what you've learned. You come over here and we buy from you, and you do not buy anything back from us. You don't give back to us at all as a community. All of our dollars and all of our cents and all of our money is going into everything that you have over here in demand for us, and none of it is coming back to us. None of it is coming back to the community to build us to live better lives. And I understand and I get it. You guys are thinking on a level that we probably should be thinking on as well, how to build your own people up. We should be thinking black. We should be trying to build black. And everything that we do should be around black right now, so that we can become strong and build and teach, and we can become just as successful as you are in the government and all over our continent. But that's not happening. So I'm going to challenge you to grab that type of mindset. Tell your people to treat us good. Tell your people to love us. Tell your people to buy back some of the things that we bought from them. Tell your people to patronize us. Tell your people to come sit down in our restaurants and eat some food with us. Show your people that it's okay to help us and teach us what you know, and that you love us. Show them. These are the people that I call separated from evil. When God says separate yourself amongst those who do not believe, he's talking about every race, every color, every people who have a like mind of God, to separate yourself and become more like him. Be willing to teach the next race and the next person who's your brother and your sister. And don't say that they're not, because they're from a different background. They are your brother. They are your sisters. Be able to do the same for them. Treat them well. Just because they don't look like you, let's throw that out and adopt love in our lives, and start loving and embracing people who don't look like you. Let's start that trend out here in America, because you follow every other trend we got. I even see you sagging your pants and gang banging and some more stuff out there in Asia and China and Japan. You guys got some vicious gangsters out there. We got vicious gangsters out here. Nobody's no better than nobody. We got to come together. We got to come together as one. And the only way we can defeat hatred is by love. And we all should be able to have love and find love in our heart for one another, no matter what race you are. I believe that's how we can beat this thing. Huckabee said it. And the guy, Trevor, who comes on a morning show in Europe, he kind of got on him and he talked about him, believing in God and what God could do. And he kind of mocked the situation of anybody wanting to believe in God, that God can actually change these rules in politics. God can do anything. And the media wants you to believe that there is no God. The media wants you to be able to question the fact that, is there really a God? The media is Satan. The media is the adversary. The media will destroy you, dehumanize you, and desensitize you. So you have to understand that God is still in control. Before any of this technology and any of these things came about, God was doing it without anybody say so. Creating it, having it, and he still owns it. Everything in the world belongs to him. And this battle that we fight with racism is his battle. So you know what that already tells me? that we already won. We just got to keep on fighting without getting tired. If you know God and you focus on his journey for you and you ask him for his strength, ask him to show up in your life, give him the words for you to say, to speak, and give you a plan, give you direction, give you guidance. Imagine if everybody was thinking on that level, where we could get and where we could be right now as a people. I'm talking about a people. We as black people, we tired. We tired. We need your help. We need everybody's help. How could you not feel for the kids that are being locked up in cages and the parents that are being locked up in cages that are Hispanic right now? How could you not feel for that? How could people of this world not want to come together for the sake of those people who is our people too? The scripture said, if my people, which is God's people who are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from them. Then will he give you whatever you need, the attention, and welcome you to his Holy Spirit, to his supernatural powers, to breaking yokes, to favor, to divine protection. Then will he allow us to rise again as a nation. Now, he's done it several times in this in the universe and in the world. His destruction and his wrath has caused many to perish. And he keeps showing up, and you guys don't think that it's his wrath, but it's his wrath. That's not by chance. If you give him your attention, and if you just try him and let him know that you're listening and you need a sign, he will indeed send you one. He will send you one. If you're worshiping him in spirit and in truth, and if you really are seeking him diligently, he will send you one. But right now, my heart goes out to so many people. But I like Ida B. Wells. Ida Bell Wells, you know, she was an African-American investigative journalist, educator, and an early leader in the civil rights movement. She was one of the founders of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We don't build things like that up for us anymore. That's solid, that will move as a unit, a powerful unit for us. That's what we need to focus on. We as African Americans need to build our own unit. We need to build our own unit so that we can function in unity and get with other races who are like-minded so that we all can have some type of unity. And that can be done simply by spreading the news and allowing your people to do the same thing over there, wherever they come from, and with the people that they have favor and take favor with. That can happen. That can happen. So, she had a quote that said, resistance of tyranny is obedience to God. You know what tyranny is? Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Resistance to tyranny. Tyranny is the corrupted government. Cruel, corruptive behavior of the government. That's what it is. That is what we are going through in America today. Not just in America, but all around the world. They have cruel, corrupted governments. Be obedient to God, because he is the one that can actually come and destroy a whole city, nation, government, so that we'll be able to rebuild all over again. He's the only one that can do it. We can't do it in our power. We better have the power of God, and we better have love. That's what it is. God is love, and that's the only way we're going to be able to defeat this hate out here. That's the only way we got to move. We got to move on love. We got to say enough is enough and really move on love. You know, and it's white people who look just like us. Just like us. And I'm going to read to you. He says the same educational process, and this is by Carter Godwin Woodson. Godwin, that's his middle name, Godwin. God wins. That's how I feel. That's what really got my attention. But he goes on by saying, talking about the desegregation in the schools and how it was a phenomenon, and it really didn't do us any good, but it allowed white supremacy to come over here and control us even more on what we can learn and what we can do and how far we can go in our education. That's true. If you just look around, that is a proven fact. Didn't do anything for us, but we are being segregated right here in our own neighborhoods. That's what it allowed them to do. Come over here and take even full control over our minds and corrupt us in our music and fight against each other like we do, just like Willie Lynch wanted us to. They got something to keep the ignition going. They got something to keep the fire lit. What do we have to put it out? Violence is not the answer. It's not the key. Don't be afraid of all the violence you see that go on, because with the love, we have power. With love, we have power. And with that kind of power, we do not have to stand for the things that are happening against the people of humanity. It is a disgrace to the human race what they have allowed these people to do to other people. The Spanish, us as black people, and even other people from around the world. It is a disgrace to the human race. And we got to answer to God for that. We do. So I'm just here to feed you the information. Whether you take heed or not, that's not my problem. That is not my situation. But I want to be a part of the solution and not the problem. And let me just tell you one thing. First, let me read this. The same educational process which inspires and stimulates the oppressor with the thought that he is everything and has accomplished everything worthwhile, the high and mighty thinking, however you want to call it, the bougie, the sophisticated, the one who think they above everything because they got, a little bit of education behind them or status, where they're being respected and voted into a position or office or a title. These are the people we're talking about. But that same attitude that you have also depresses and crushes at the same time the spark of genius individuals in the Negro race by making him feel that his race does not amount to much at all and never will measure up to standards of the people. Now, when I hear that phrase, that his race does not amount to much and never will measure up to the standards of other people, that saddens me, because it wasn't too long ago when I was actually approached by several different individuals that was not black, and I asked the same question that somebody else asked that was Caucasian. And when I asked the question, these people shooed me away and didn't want to talk to me, as if I had no right to ask any question. Tried to dehumanize me, downgrade me as a human and as a woman of God. That's what they tried to do. Make me feel like whatever it is I had to say was not important. And I was in the way, so I needed to move to the side so that they can see and hear what somebody who they felt was more superior than me was trying to say to them. And they were asking the same question that I was asking. And so when I saw that, I told them about themselves. But I told them about themselves in a way that they could actually think about the actions that they have taken towards me. Think about it. And you guys got to be bold and stop being afraid to speak up. Stop being scared of people who downgrade you to a level and try to dehumanize you as if you do not exist, or your existence doesn't matter. You guys got to stop being afraid to talk to these people. If you have any faith at all, then you'll tell that mountain in Jesus' name to be moved. And you know what? That mountain is not no longer there in the spiritual eye, and you can go past that, get to where you had to go, and it's no more of a hindrance there that you thought. That's the way you need to be talking to these people, and not have fear in your heart to speak the truth, because the truth shall set you free, and you should never be afraid of the truth. Now, you do have to watch what you say and how you say it, because it could be a setup. A lot of times when they do that, they piss you off to a point where you're not thinking logically, so you result out of anger instead of wisdom. And the things that come out your mouth is just a trap for them to look back and say, see, that's why we say what we say. Because we knew you was going to act the fool. Look at you. You acting a fool. You're ignorant. You're not talking about anything. Everything coming out your mouth is a curse word. You have to stop and think about what you're going to tell these people. And you have to tell them something and ask God to find the words and the Holy Spirit to intervene for you so that you can say the right thing, so that these people can hear what you have to say, and it'll penetrate all the way through their soul to their heart, and they'll be understanding about where it is you're coming from. And if they're not, they'll go home and think about it, because it'll be on their mind and their hearts. You got to be smart about the situation and how you guys handle these situations. I want to show you the young lady, just a snippet of her. I want to show you that, she's white, and she's been going through a lot of, when you look at her, she's white. And she's been going through a lot of racism because she's been putting that she's black because she really is black on her paperwork. So here's a person who looks white, but she's black. And imagine the world that she's been living in, being around predominantly all white people, having to see the things that they do to her people because she looked like them. So imagine the things that she's seen and had to go through. You can go ahead and roll her.
Them to be black people. You might not look black, but you got the black blood into you. Well, my name is Roberta Jeanette Orler, but I go by Bert for a nickname. I've lived here all my life. On my job that I had worked at, they took me to be white. And my best friend, she took me to be white. She was shocked when I told her I'm not white. I am black. I am a black person. And it was, well, you're not that. You think you are. No, I know I am. I was raised that way. But I was also raised, as Mom would say, it doesn't matter what color your skin is. We all serve one God. Now, as you know, this is my home. Over here is my daughter's home, Jessica. Everybody else in here, we're all kinfolks. That's how this community got to be mixed with white and black. It was from the black children. Our children going out marrying white and bringing them in. A lot of them was as light as I am, but we still said we were black. And then we had some real dark ones, but that's okay. They were black, we were black. So that's how this all got started. My grandma, she was half Turk, half black.
Yeah. She looks albino, but if you go on, you Google that, you'll see that the rest of her family, now she looks albino. You can still see her hair being coarse and everything, but she has an issue with one of her children, her descendants, who really has the white hair, the blue eyes, the red hair, the blue eyes, and the white skin, and she refuses to write that she's black on her applications and admit that she's black, because she said she looked too much like a white person, and I guess the pressure of everybody looking at her like she's crazy when she tells them that she's black, she didn't want it anymore, so she goes against the family values and she claims to be white, but she is truly black because she looks very white, whiter than the woman that you saw, very white. Trump white is what she looks like, and she is truly black, but she's not putting that on her applications. But I tell you one thing, in her heart, she knows what it's like for her people, my people, our people, black people, to be dehumanized, mistreated, and considered a disgrace to the human race. That saddens me, because we got those people amongst us today that continue to fight with us. And that's why I say it's not any way in our intention to offend anybody. But I say that there's been, throughout the history of this country, legions of good and decent white and black citizens. And this came from an author named Bill Moss, member of the Columbus School Board, who was fighting for desegregation. And he said, legions of good and decent white and black citizens fighting side by side for justice and equality is a fact, and that requires no affirmation from him, he says. He's seen it, he knows it, but indeed it is because of those that the righteous struggle must be upheld, is what I'm trying to tell you. It is because of those and us and all of the ones just like us and those people that we must continue this fight. This struggle must be upheld. We've come way too far to turn around now. We've come way too far to complain now. We've come way too far to sit down now. Now is the time to stand. If you're going to stand for anything, stand for humanity and stand for the blacks who have suffered so long and so much. Stand for us. Let's see you stand for us. We need you. God needs you to bring that kind of unity back to the world today. Bring that kind of love and concern back to the world. We need that. We're not of this world. We're in it. Bring it to the world. We don't have to act like we're desensitized demonically and we don't have a heart and we don't believe that there's a God. We don't have to put on no macho roles about, why we're so powerful in our race and this, that, and the other against each other and all the competition and all the fighting. No, let's do the right thing. Let's put an end to this stuff. And the only way we can do that is by showing each other straight up love everywhere we go and everything we do. Stop looking at people like they're beneath you. I was in a meeting the other day and I had even us as individuals, black on black crime is ridiculous. We always trying to shoot one person down in order to gain a status or in order for us to, feel great about ourselves or in order for us to earn brownie points out there in the world. Your brownie points in the world don't matter. You have to earn some type of credits from God. So what are you doing to make this thing right? What are you doing besides talking about it, complaining about it? What are you doing to make it right? All you have to do is share the information to your people from one ear, one heart to the next. That's all you have to do is get it in there and move it around. Move it around in your city, and in your state and in your country. Move it around so that people can hear it in your music. Stop writing music to degrade us as a people. Stop writing music that is talking about hatred and why you hate the other race and why you don't like women and why you can't stand females in the ghetto and why you don't like men in the ghetto and why you can't stand black men and black this and black that and why you can't stand white this and white that. Stop writing those lyrics. Start writing lyrics that will move people's hearts and inspire them to do the right things. Start writing meaningful lyrics that we can live by. And when we got it turned on our stereos, we can meditate to something that's taking us on a different level of thinking, a higher plank with God spiritually. So we can make some things happen in the spiritual realm because it's powerful. You can see some mighty manifestations if you just live in a spiritual realm and don't allow none of this stuff to be able to move you, change you, and frustrate you to anger to where you're killing and harming everybody at everything in sight and you just don't care. That is a demonic spirit, and I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And I know that there are hundreds that touch and agree with me right now in the name of Jesus that that type of spirit has to flee, because we as one people have more power. There's only one God, one people, one power. Okay, so I respect the man, Mr. Dixon, that's coming on here talking about what a disgrace the white race has considered the supremacists. Because if you don't realize it, there are supremacies everywhere. White supremacy is everywhere. White privilege is everywhere. We have it living in our backyards. We have it living down the street from us. We have white supremacists going to the same schools as we do, working at the same jobs that we do, grocery shopping with the same carts that we shop with, standing in the same lines that we stand in. We have a group of white supremacists everywhere. Everywhere. And you don't realize it. You got to wake up. Don't sleep on any of this. We have to be aware of our surroundings, and we have to have a mind that's focused on being for everybody as a whole. We have to love. We have to love. We have to think God. Think God. And I heard somebody tell me, it was Malcolm X, I believe, and he said some things, and he said, let me try to find it, because I got to give you that quote. He said some things, and he says, we need structure, is what, I was talking about to a friend of mine. We need structure in our African American community. So we have to start building with each other instead of building against each other. When we go to these meetings and we talking to each other and we're trying to make things happen as a unit and trying to move as a unit, we need to understand that we are doing this together. And we need to not degrade anybody and make them feel any lower than they are because, they feel like they want brownie points or they want to stand out and they want to be in charge and be in control. Don't adopt that type of mentality. That's the same mentality that we're fighting against. Nobody wants to come to a meeting and have to deal with the same type of mentality, whether you're black or white. Nobody wants to deal with that. We're dealing with that as a whole already with racism. We don't want to have to deal with that all the time amongst the people that we work with and sit down and try to build committees with. We need to come together and think of everybody as the same, a leader with something valuable to bring to the tables. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. Most of all, everybody needs to speak with wisdom and respect for one another. That's how we can kill anger, frustration, division, and separation. If we want to stand for anything, we got to unite. So Marcus Garvey says, be black, buy black, think black, and all else will take care of itself. People in our black community, you have to start recycling your dollars with your people so that we can become a strong entity in our community and we can not be economically enslaved And we can come together and buy property, and we can come together and make decisions in building for the future, and the culture can just rise and rise and rise, and we can have all kind of, activities for our kids and teachings, and, the system will flow for us. Can we build our own system? Because a lot of races do. The Latinos, I guarantee you, they got a system. African Americans, blacks like us, what is our system? Let's build a system that works for us. Don't complain about what's going on around us. Don't complain about the changes we fighting for and been fighting for. Let's build a system. Maybe that's the change that need to come. Is the fact that we can build our own system around all the rest of the systems, something that will work. And maybe our system can work out for somebody else. Great minds think alike. So I just wanted you guys to know that, I'm calling on a movement to challenge some whites and blacks and Asians and Spanish to make a decision to help make a change to stop racism among us as black people. We're suffering way too long, way too much. And the Spanish need our help too. They cannot do this without us. And we cannot do this without God. They need us too. They need us right now. We can't let this happen. The things that ISIS is doing to the people, it's wrong. The families they're tearing apart, it's wrong. The system we live in is wrong. When I go down to the child courthouse, there's nowhere to sit. Because we have a lot of our black, Latino, mulatto kids being taken from their family and being separated. Hey, that's no better than ISIS. These kids are being placed in situations that they shouldn't be placed in. All behind something that's stipulated to be such a strong and strict policy because of their neglect and their mistakes of putting kids in the wrong hands at the wrong time. There's got to be better judgment, and we got to stop voting for the laws that's going to work against us. When we vote for these laws, we need to have some stipulations, or else they're going to turn around and use those laws against us as black individuals and say this is the law. Of course, we want the death penalty for people that's out there killing in mass numbers. Of course we do. But we want to make it perfectly clear that we want it for the people that are doing that. And not the ones that you just place on trial telling them that they're murderers because of the color of their skin. Be careful with the system and what we tend to vote on. And if you have something on the ballots, people, that does not pertain to us, please stop voting for it. Because even I'm guilty of, okay, I really don't want to vote here, but I'll vote here because I don't have a choice. When they both bad choices. Let's demand something on those ballots that if we're going to go out in mass numbers and vote, people of America and people of today, society, nations after nation after nation, everybody, when you vote, do not settle for the in-between. Really vote for something that you feel like is going to benefit you as a people, as a whole. Stop just voting because we have to put something on the ballot. We have to check something. Stop doing that. Let's demand that we got the right things through legislation. There's a process to do that. And when you build your coalitions in the Latino neighborhoods, in the Asian neighborhoods, and the black neighborhoods, then you can come together and find out how these legislations can take place in all of our lives. We can live a healthy life with a healthy environment. So, with that being said, I'm gonna let you guys. I'm gonna go for a break because I got something I want to share, a song I want to share with you really quick, and it just simply says, "I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. But I don't believe, I can't believe, and I'm not going to believe that God has brought us this far just to leave us hanging. So let's hear that song.
Now I know I have some testimonies in place this morning that know that God can bring them this far to leave. Whatever journey that you're on, whatever path that you've been on, we just want to tell you this morning that God didn't bring you this far to leave.
I don't believe he brought us this far just to leave us. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. But I'm going to get ready to wrap it up here. And before I go, I have a few things that I want to bring to your attention. If you don't believe the things that China has clearly beat us in cleaning our clocks with, then I'm going to show you the brilliant minds and thinking together on a whole as a unit, from government to whatever it is they have to deal with politically, what kind of results they are actually getting in the global tech world is amazing. They have global tech dominance right now because they are wasting no time on ignorance. They are wasting no time on things that we're wasting our time with. We're wasting our time trying to dehumanize each other, downgrading each other, and with all this bullcrap racism and all of these things with supremacists, white supremacists, and all of the money that's being wasted with all the ignorance, we're wasting time. And we need to spend more time to use resources to build up the system instead of tearing down the system. We need better schools with better role models. Not just to prove that whites are better than blacks. We don't need to keep thinking on that level. Not just to prove that I'm no better than you. Not just to prove that Ted's no better than Sam. Or not just to prove that Tina's no better than Gina. We need to stop that idiotic thinking and come to the conclusion that we got business to do out here, so that we can make some things change for the future of our kids and their kids. You want to say you don't want history to repeat. You always want to say history is not repeating and you'll never go back to slavery and you'll never go back to this. Well, if you don't do something and get up, then guess what? It's trying right now. It's making a huge turn for the worse. And we got to steer it back so that it won't repeat. Because slavery has really never went nowhere. But it's coming back strong. And we got to kill that fire before it destroys us as a people. And we are left to nothing but ashes. Because it's not only killing up the government and society, the way people are thinking, is not only us black people and it's not only us Spanish people that are being killed here. Their people are being killed in the process too. And if they're not caught in the gunfire of the white supremacy or the drama, and they're being caught up in opiate abuse, cocaine abuse, and psychotic behavior with no treatment out here. No treatment at all. The health care is a crisis. And you got some people that are supremacists who don't even like you that's taking care of you. Your doctors. And everybody that's in supremacy is not white. We got people coming from foreign countries. India. And some other places who can't stand our black behinds. But they are our doctors. They are our scholars. And they are the ones who's working on us and doing all the surgeries that we have because, you know, they're dominating the medical field. So we better wake up. And we better call on God, and we better stop these things from happening and put some things in place that will protect us as a people in the medical field, on our jobs, and in society, period. So I'm going to show you what China is doing before I have Mr. Dixon come and tell you what a disgrace it is to be among his Caucasian white race right now and the minds that have corrupted the rest of them.
Hi, everybody. I guess a lot of people have been triggered this weekend because of the mass shootings. We had El Paso, Texas, 22 people killed, and Dayton, Ohio, 9 people killed, and I don't know. Now they're saying the guy, and of course the white guy in Dayton, Ohio was mentally ill, and the person in Texas, some of the white supremacists here in this country, are political white supremacists like Trump and others, are proclaiming, oh, he was mentally ill, and ignoring, proclaiming that the problem with terrorism is not white supremacy and white nationalism, it's mental illness, and that's a code word, of course, that they use to take away from the fact that white people are killing us. It's domestic white terrorism. And it's usually a white guy nowadays, and a lot of times it is. Just happened in California, too. Another white supremacist killed 3. Now it's 22 in El Paso, Texas. Now we've had, since Sandy Hook, we've had over 2,000 mass murders in our nation. 2,000 incidents of mass murder. Just think about that. We're a gun-loving culture, and it's the white conservatives. It's the rural white American, and it's always the white nationalist, and it's always those people that are in full support of gun culture and that are against gun laws, common sense gun laws. And white supremacy and white nationalism and gun control and all this shit is all gun culture. It's all intertwined, and it always has been. From the genocide of the indigenous people, how do we do it? We did it with guns. We did it with force. So, of course, and then we had the Wild West, and yeah, we wanted to hunt, but also we wanted to protect ourselves from the people that we stole the fucking land from. So, of course, we're a gun-loving culture. And it's always been racists that love their fucking guns. The more racist you are, the more you want a gun. Violence and white supremacy has always been hand in hand. And we're a white supremacist nation. And the fact is, we have never, ever addressed white supremacy. White supremacy is the most neglected evil of our time. And when I say of our time, I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. White supremacy has been neglected by the white man. It is the most neglected thing. We put Band-Aids on it. We ended slavery legally. We didn't end it socially or economically. We didn't end it institutionally. White supremacy is still working, operating. We certainly didn't end it psychologically or culturally. White America has always embraced white supremacy and white nationalism. And some people said, what's the difference between white nationalism and white supremacy? White supremacy pretends, or the myth of the white man being superior. That's what we needed in order for the Atlantic slave trade to work, enslavement of Africans. That's what we needed, that fucking lie. What is white nationalism? White nationalism is basically wanting a fucking white nation, wanting white people on top and brown and black people on the bottom. It's in the nation. It's a national thing. That's it. But that's who we are as a fucking white people collectively. I'm not saying individually, and I get accused of hating white people. I don't fucking hate white people. I'm fucking white. I don't hate myself. My mama was white. I don't hate white people. I fucking hate our behavior. I'm ashamed of our goddamn behavior. I'm ashamed that we've never ever fixed this fucking problem. Every American child should be taught about white supremacy and its lie and its myth, about white nationalism.
Now, it don't get no better than that. It don't get no better than that for me to hear that come from somebody who is Caucasian, who actually strongly stood up to the violence and the cruelty that they have committed towards my people. I am very happy to hear somebody like him stepping up, just like Tim Wise does. And Tim Wise, Jacob Wise, he's been an anti-racism activist for a long time, since 1995. And if you look him up, he got dozens and dozens of speeches over 600 college campuses across the U.S. He's trained teachers and corporate employees and, nonprofit organizations. And he is also a white man that's fighting this fight with us and helping us to change things for us as a people, and especially the black race. And that is very important. And while we got all these false messiahs and false prophets and all these people that's performing these great signs and wonders, that's deceiving. Most of it is deceiving. All of it is not of God. Even the elect, the people that have these big, huge titles and have been voted in the office and position. You see the way they act, even at your church. If they got a position, somehow they forget that there is a God and want you to worship them like they are God. That's the kind of behavior I'm talking about out here. So we run to the churches, but we got a lot of people that has actually deceived the people and spiritually hurt the people by the things that they do with their attitudes and their actions that they show. It's not very godly. Okay, so, and it says that we don't need to be idolizing anything. And right here, Exodus 20 says, you shall have no other gods, the lower G-O-D-S, lowercase gods, before me. God said you shall have no other God before me, no other gods before me. He said, he's a jealous God, and he says, you shall not make for yourself any idols. You shouldn't idolize people. A lot of you guys look at the TV and you look at YouTube and you look at all these rap videos and all of these things, these actresses and these reality TV shows. Let's hit reality TV shows for real, because they are made to not structurally build us up as a people, black people, but tear your ass down. That's what they completely do. So please don't feel like you are the supreme or you are the poo-poo because you are on a reality TV show. You be very careful of that demonic force inside those walls and inside those cameras that's looking at you, because that's not made to help us either. It's only made to make you look a fool of yourself, and it sometimes and often does. So he said that, we shouldn't, make for ourselves any idol. And in the form of anything in heaven or above or on the earth, beneath the earth or in the waters below. Nothing you should idolize. Nothing. It's not going to do you any good. It may seem to be good at the time, but it is a grave disservice to idolize anything. And if you don't believe me, Go find it in scripture. It's there. It's there. So I thank God for you today, and I want to leave you with Jeremiah 1:10, because I love the way he puts this, because this is the feeling that I have right now is Jeremiah 1:10. This is what I want to share with you, and this is what I want the people to hear, and this is what I want you to leave this show with in your heart today. On this day in August, I need you to know this. 2019, on this day, you need to be reminded of Jeremiah 1:10. It says, "See, I have set you this day over nations and over kingdoms." Talking about all of us. God has set us over nations and over kingdoms. We have dominion over nations, kingdoms, and we have dominions over the animals and anything in this world. We are the most powerful creatures that was ever created. Us, humans. And he said that he set us here this day to rule over the nations and over the kingdoms, to pluck up and to break down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. Well, there it is there. The false ideology, doctrines, the false teachings, is that associated with idolizing other things and figures and people with different positions and people in high places and things like that. The powers that be. We have the power. All of that false ideology, false doctrines and teachings, is that associated with the idolatry of the nation. And that's what we want to set ourselves apart from. So he told us to separate ourselves and come from among those who don't believe. And if we can do that, I tell you, we'll see some amazing things happen in our world. So, I love you guys. God bless you. And ciao for now.